Welcome back to another episode, another sad episode of Fourth and One. You know, Will, this just
I'm sick of this shit, man.
it's I don't even know what to say at this point. Look, we're gonna try and keep it, light and fun, I guess, but there's not much to be positive about right now as an OU Sooners fan. Will, how was your weekend, man? Besides OU
It,
absolutely looking like a high school football team. That aside, how'd your weekend go?
I mean, it overall. I mean, I was with friends and family, so from my own personal perspective, it was really good. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm sick and tired of this team ruining my day because I mean, after we lose, well, not even lose, play that bad, that it is just so hard to be optimistic walking away from that, thinking there's gonna be better days. So overall it was good. Regarding what I can control, it was really good. But regarding what I can't control and who I root for, it's been absolute hell. How about you, brother?
Yeah, well, I actually just came off of an absolute heater of a week. Was in Nashville last week,
Oh
and
man.
then went out,
Booked it to Texas?
and then yeah, went to Texas. Got to Dallas on Friday. Um, my girl was with me in Nashville. She came out to watch us play, so we got to hang out the week.
Let's
And
go.
went to Dallas Friday, met the family there. And then Friday was fun. Saturday was fun. We went to the fair. We got there when it opened. Spent some time at the fair, and then we went into the game, and it immediately went south from there.
Well, before we get into your perspective of the game, just because I've never been, I hear different definitions from everybody when they go. How was the fair? What's the fair like?
So the fair, which I'm not one for fairs normally anyways, because usually the games are too expensive to play. And the food is what the food is. It's kind of funny to see all the different foods, but I don't necessarily want to try
Hmm.
all the fried. They had fried jambalaya there. I don't know how you fried jambalaya, but that sort of thing. So it's kind of cool to see that. But all I had was a corn dog. I had a Frito chili pie, which was
And
good.
that cost you what, $40
Yeah,
for
yeah.
two?
The way they do it actually though is really smart. They have these like coupon where they like sell tickets at these like kiosk type things, and that's how you pay for all your stuff. So
Okay.
like the price will be like 15 tickets. Like each ticket is like $1. So that's pretty smart how they do that actually, so you're not having to like deal with change and stuff. But the fair's cool. I'm not really I like big crowds. They don't really bother me that much, and so there's a ton of people there. There's a big stage at part of the fair with a live band that was really good, and it's just electric being there on a Saturday because everyone is either in an OU shirt or a Texas shirt. I did have a couple guys come up to me. I was walking with my brother-in-law, and they come, they get right in my face, and they go "hook 'em" as they're walking by, and I'll have to tell you off the pod what I said back to them. But it's that's what makes it fun though, is kind of the back and forth trash talk, and they get to trash talk us for 365 days until it comes back. But yeah, the fair was fun, and then the atmosphere inside the stadium
I'm sure it's
it's
electric.
unreal, man. Like you imagine that Tennessee game we were at.
Hmm.
It's probably it's just so unique. Like one side of the stadium going absolutely nuts with the other side being completely silent. It lived up to the hype. I wish the game would have gone a little better, but the experience was super cool all the way up until kickoff.
That's good. I'm glad you, aside from the game, I'm glad you had a good time. It's always good to have a good time on the side for sure. So, well, let's hear your let's hear your thoughts on the game.
Well, I mean, there's not much to say that hasn't already been said. I guess we'll start with the offensive side of the ball. Um, that's just at the University of Oklahoma, that just cannot happen, especially coming off a bye week. And you can give all and we do have a lot of excuses we can give, and they're pretty, you know, validated and justified excuses of we're super young, lots of injuries, lots of key players to the draft, new offensive coordinator, freshman quarterback. You can say all those things, and that's fine, and that maybe justifies why we suck, but it doesn't change the fact that we suck. Like,
It's not just it's not just we're not efficient on the offensive end. We are bad. Like one of the worst offenses I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I'm sure that you can say the exact same.
oh, absolutely. And if you go look at the numbers, I think we're there's 134 FBS teams, and we're ranked in the hundreds in any offensive category you can be in. And I think explosive plays, like plays over 20 yards, we're like 133rd out of 134. And I saw a thing which I would assume that this is true. I didn't do my own research on it, but I saw a thing on Twitter that an OU account had tweeted out, and it was like at one point in the game on offense, we had like our lowest rated player minus like tight ends. Everyone out there was a 4-star, like coming out of high school. So it's not a talent issue. That's not the problem. It's there's so many things wrong with this offense, and we'll get to it here in a little bit because I want to hear more of your thoughts. But obviously, it's not the quarterback. Not saying that Jackson Arnold would have done any better, that he needs to be the starter, because I don't think he does need to be the starter. But it's not just the quarterback. It's not just the OC. Um, there's so many things that need to be fixed, but I don't think are going to get fixed. Obviously, not this season. We're 7 weeks in, and we're still having the same problems.
I mean, I think initially, I mean, it's been this way for weeks, and I think it's going to continue to be this way. It's just like we're playing the blame game, whether it's us blaming the OCs, the line coach, our players. I mean, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how bad. Which you know how I feel about Latrell. I mean, I think everybody, to an extent, I don't think that I don't I'll get your take on it later. I don't think you'll be defending him as much as you had in the past anymore because I think the dude's just not suited for the job. But at the end of the day, I mean, like you said, we have 4-star players with everybody hurt. So I mean, we have the talent to at least score once, at least once. So that is just the most infuriating thing for me. And like I said, as far as the defensive aspect of the game, yeah, they did score 34 on us, but at the end of the day, I think our defense, for the most part, did their job. I mean, and like I said in the previous weeks, I mean, I think our defense is going to keep us in majority of the games the rest of the season. I don't really care how tough the rest of our season is, but they can only do that for so long during the game. I mean, they're out there, nothing new. They get a big stop, 3 and out, right back out there. I mean, it's hard to expect your defense, which I'm pretty sure I saw on Twitter. Do we not have one of the top 10 defenses in the country? Or did I make that up?
Yeah, definitely in the SEC we do. So I would imagine it's one of the best in the country as well.
And so like it's one of those things like our defense is insanely good, but at the same time you cannot expect them to play flawless the entire game when they're hardly getting any breaks. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers. I mean, I think that's what we've been doing this whole time. Obviously there is a very, very big problem going on. Whether firing, Latrell and whoever else in the middle of the season, whether that fixes the problem or not, I don't think it necessarily does. I think this is something that we're just going to have to ride it out the rest of the season and pray that Venables makes some big moves this offseason. Because, I saw some people saying, we are sticking to the traditional route at Norman. And, with the NIL stuff coming in, like, you've got to be able to adapt. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. So I don't want to say that's where we're at yet, because I think, we do have a ton of talent. I think we have a lot of upside. I mean, at the end of the day, we're the University of Oklahoma, but for this to go as bad as it has for so long, I'm definitely starting to not only get seasonal depression. I mean, this sucks. I mean, I haven't been happy. I haven't been able to smile in 3 weeks talking about OU football, but it definitely is concerning just because, I mean, yes, we have been spoiled in the past, but at the same time, this isn't normal for any, Power 5 college football school, more or less us. So,
Yeah, I agree. And touching back on the defense, just think about, that opening possession of the game, we force a third down and then they throw the pick. And when I tell you that was probably, I went to the, uh, I went to the Thunder game 1 against the Mavs this year, or yeah, this past year, and it was a game they won by 20. And round 2 of the playoffs, never been to a playoff game before. Some crazy crowd pops in that
uh,
game. like insanely loud. And I know this is obviously a lot more people at this football game, but that interception that Billy Bowman had on that first possession, that was the loudest I've ever heard a stadium get.
Really,
It was deafening, dude.
that's
And
awesome.
so, that happens and we go down. I want to say we miss a field goal. So, momentum is starting to go away already after a huge play that our defense makes. But
Nothing new, by the
yeah,
way.
nothing
Nothing
new.
new.
But that's just the story, of the season is defense goes and makes a play, offense can't capitalize. And I was listening to Teddy Lehman today. It wasn't on the Oklahoma breakdown, it was just on the radio. And he's talking about, a lot of what's happening is the defense feels a lot of pressure, which they probably had their worst game of the year Saturday, especially that second quarter. That second quarter was really bad.
Yep.
Missed tackles, guys busting loose, things like that. So that stuff is inexcusable. But I mean, he was basically saying they like when you feel this type of pressure with the offense, not capitalizing on stops and on turnovers, because the offense had great field position for most of the game. Um, we would get the ball right around the 40, right around the 35 or the 40 off of punts, and then or that turnover, and wouldn't capitalize on it. And so he's basically saying guys start to press and they quit doing their job and they try to do too much. And then that's when you see the things like the busted coverages and the missed tackles. And so when you feel like you can't do your job, you have to go do somebody else's job, then that's when you start running into problems. And that's what happened that second quarter is, we held Texas to 13 yards in the first quarter and we didn't have anything to show for it. The score was 3-0. So the defense feels like they have to go and make something happen and they quit worrying about their job and trying to do everyone else's job. And I think that's exactly what happened on Saturday.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, I can completely understand why they have that much pressure. I mean, and what sucks is they have this much pressure on them. They don't even get to, really fully understand how good that they have been throughout this season. Because it's hard to, give them praise whenever we're playing like absolute dog water every single week. I'm trying to do better cussing if you can't tell. I'm trying to do better on that. But man, it's one of those things like you said. I mean, that can go for any sport. Anytime you find yourself trying to do somebody else's job, it's probably not going to end up well. And so, it definitely doesn't help knowing that in the back of their mind, they're thinking in reality, like we cannot give up a touchdown. Like we cannot. Like this game's over if we do. Like throughout the whole game. And so I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just got to look at it from a fan point of view. I mean, it's completely out of our control. They're not going to listen to anything we say. I don't know if I saw. I don't know if it's actual, real news or not. But I saw on Twitter today, Venables had talked about, he's never been one to make changes mid-season. Well, it's like, like all credit to you. I mean, you've been successful in the past, but at some point, enough has got to be enough. So I don't know how close him and Latrell and the other guys are, but I there's no way that because I mean he's big on defense and he's living up to that at that aspect 100%. But at some point, he has got to be losing his mind.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, you nailed it when you're like talking about we feel like we can't even give up a touchdown now. And even field goals almost feel like backbreakers.
Mhm.
Because we just haven't shown the ability to be able to move the ball down the field and score. And yeah, like you said, like no one's gonna listen to what we're saying. We're just fans, and they shouldn't listen to what we're saying. BV's job, all we're ever gonna hear from him in interviews, like everyone wants to hear him come out and be like, talk about everything that's bad is going on. Basically, we want to hear BV talk like we're talking or like how Twitter's talking. But I mean, his job is to keep the locker room together, keep, the coaching staff together. So we're just going to hear coach speak from him the rest of the year. But um, I don't moving on past the offense and defense, talking about the coaching staff. I don't think that we gain anything from firing Seth Luttrell in the middle of the season because it's like you fire him, who do you put in that spot?
Yeah.
Um,
But do you lose anything though?
Right. And I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Um, but I just don't know that you gain anything from it. But I would be incredibly disappointed to see him return as the OC next season.
100%.
So that being said, like him not being fired in the middle of the season, like I said, I don't think he's a good OC by any means. I just don't think we gain anything from it. It's just a little extra added drama. Like I think this offense is so far gone that firing the OC isn't going to make them better in the middle of a season. And I don't think we need to promote someone from inside the program. I don't want
Oh
anyone
yeah,
else.
no, that's got to come to an end soon.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it helps us to put an interim OC in and then promote him to be the guy. Say it was like a DeMarco Murray or like someone like that. So I think I think he's going to survive the season. I don't necessarily want to see him come back next year as the OC, and I really don't think that he will after how laughably bad this has been. It's been historically bad. So I just he'll make it through the season just because I don't think we gain anything from firing him.
I mean, it's just I don't. I mean, you're completely right. I mean, we really don't get anything. I'm honestly surprised though that as much as social media captures everything nowadays, that there hasn't been any leaks about our defense. Just completely bashing because given I don't know how well Brent preaches to them behind the scenes, about this team aspect, and I completely get that. I'm a big team guy, but at some point when you're making a ton of money, you got guys, sacrificing their time at Oklahoma when they could be making a ton of money NIL wise somewhere else, and possibly getting ready for the draft. For this to be the outcome, I'm really surprised I haven't seen anybody, just say some stuff on the side. So I think as far as that goes, that makes me feel a little bit better. Honestly, I mean, I'd say it makes me feel better. I would like to kind of see it just that, oh shit, like here we go. But at the end of the day, I mean, they are holding up as a team pretty well. Like Danny Stutzman said, I mean, we only have 2 losses right now. So as bad as it seems, again, we feel like we have the same conversations every week. As bad as it is, I mean, we are, 4-2 right now. So I'm not saying I'm done with the optimistic view. I'm absolutely done with that. I'm throwing that out the window. But it is I don't know if it's gonna get better, but it could be worse. Um
Yeah. Well, at this point, we'll be. I mean, we are going to have to grind to even be bowl eligible because
mhm.
we've got South Carolina coming into town this week, which won't be an easy game.
Are you going to that game?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Mhm.
Um,
I
I'll
think
be
I'm
there.
gonna that's how bad this season is going. So Biggin's a diehard OU fan. And he doesn't miss games hardly at all. Like if he does, like in the Big 12 when we were in the Big 12, he would miss like an Iowa State or somebody bottom of the barrel in the Big 12. Well, he he texted my mom. He's not going this week. He's sick of it. So, and me and Grayson are gonna take his place. Grayson hasn't been yet, so I figured I'd take him up there. But
Nice.
that just kind of shows like for Biggin, one of the most diehard OU fans that I've ever met in my life, for him to just be fed up, which given the Cowboys are making him also absolutely lose his mind right now. I want to talk about Jerry Jones later before we run out of time. But that kind of just shows where we are right now. So big, and I hope you get through it if you ever do see this. But everybody feels your pain. Everybody.
Yeah, and I bet it's pretty empty on Saturday. It's our first 11:45
Mhm.
a.m. kick and, that whole type of thing. But that's funny you say that because I probably haven't left a game early. I
Did you
can't tell you
bounce
the
out
last time
early?
I did. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even I knew we weren't going to come back and win. It after that second quarter, they pretty much punched our lights out. Like
Yeah.
they had the back-to-back scoring drives on back-to-back plays actually, I'm pretty sure it was because they go down and score on like 4 plays and then we turn the ball over and they immediately score on the next play. It was over at that point.
Mhm.
There's no denying that. So my dad left at that point. Levi, my brother-in-law, left with him. Me and Jenny stayed. Halftime comes around. We watched the whole third quarter, and we're still there. Obviously we know we're not going to win, but we're just there, trying to support. And then that first possession of the fourth quarter was so piss poor that I just turned to Jenny. I was like, "Let's go!" Like
Yeah.
we're like, if like I know we're not going to win, but they don't even look
Yeah.
like I honestly will. This one, I hate to say it's more embarrassing than the 49-0, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It really is. I mean, just the fact that we didn't. I mean, we not that we necessarily had a chip on our shoulder when the 49-0 game, but I mean, we had Bevel back there. I mean, nobody expected him. Nobody expected him to be that bad, but nobody expected him to, really give us a fighting chance. And this one we kind of came into it like we had talked about in the previous week. I mean, it's OU Texas. Like it's always going to be somewhat of a close game, especially with our defense. We figured it was just going to be fight until the very end. And like you said, when we turned it off of the TV after the fourth or after the third quarter. So that kind of it's just I don't know. People talk about all the time about how picky OU fans are and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say we're picky. We're just so devoted, and we kind of as hard as we cheer though, like we expect our guys to bust their ass all four quarters, and so that kind of like you said, it's just like for you to leave, it's definitely it's bad. So it's kind of disappointing, but I mean at the same time, I'm not surprised the way the season's going right now.
Yeah, and you want to talk about, oh, we're a blue blood college football program. We're one of the, one of the best around. It's like, okay, well, we've gone 24 years without a national championship.
Yep.
So at what point, do
Yep.
we quit hanging our hat on those seven national championships and be like, look, we've been very, you know, we've had some good years, but overall we have nothing to show for it. So how does that make us any better than any other program out there? It gets frustrating because we do have such a good history. And I don't know, it's especially this year, especially because it's just been, I get we're not winning games and our schedule's tough, but our two losses have been non-competitive. Like the Tennessee game, the score it was what, 10 points, but you go watch that game, it was non-competitive. Texas game, obviously very non-competitive. That's what's frustrating about it, I think, is that, you know, we played the number one team and the number six team, and we think we should be able to hang with these teams, maybe, get a win out of at least one of these games. And to go and get just absolutely like ran in both of these games is very, very frustrating and discouraging.
Let me ask you this. I'm not trying to nitpick because obviously he's basically the heart and soul of our defense. But so the fumble in the end zone, I obviously this has nothing to do with me being biased towards Danny Stutzman at all. But just watching it, I saw it live. I wanted to point it out immediately, but I was with some my buddies and they know I hate him. So I obviously didn't want to say anything. But like how and my dad had pointed it out on Sunday how because Texas only had one guy back there, and that was the one guy that came up with the ball in the end zone. I don't know like exactly. Did you see that? Did that catch your eye kind of when it happened? Because he was
Yeah.
he was somewhat close, but it looked like he didn't realize that we had Texas had one guy behind him. But in that point though, like how are you not absolutely laying on that or trying to just push it out of bounds?
Yeah, because even if it goes out of bounds, it's the same result. It's a touchback
Mhm.
for us. And they even talked about that. So you're not even the only person to notice that because Gabe and Teddy talked about it on the Oklahoma Breakdown about how it looked like he was jogging, which is really, we don't see that out of that guy.
No, it's
But
very it's very out of his
yeah,
character range.
yeah. So like you said, he's the heart and soul of this defense. So to see him get out hustled on that play and Robert Spears Jennings going chasing him down and punching the
Mhm.
ball out, and then they end up scoring on it anyways because your team leader isn't sprinting down, which is like you said, it's so weird that we're saying that about Danny Stutzman. He'd be the absolute last guy I would expect to get out hustled on a play like that, and that play, if that happens, who knows how the next couple of drives go. I mean, I don't think there's much that would happen that we end up winning that game by
Realistically,
any means.
no,
But
but just the whole flow of the game. I mean, that's a huge takeaway right there. So I mean, that could have like obviously, like you said, probably weren't going to do shit about it. We probably gave it right back to him, but who knows?
right, right. I mean, you want to come up with those, man, especially after RSJ goes down there busting his tail to punch it out, and then it rolled out. It rolled around on the ground for a while.
Mm-hmm.
because I know OU fans saw it come out where they were like balls out, and then we were kind of just waiting to see what happened, and then Texas comes up with it. It was not a great
Sickening.
look. Yeah, it
Sickening.
truly, it really, really was. Um, I don't know. One person that did stand out to me was Peyton Bowen's little brother Eli.
Yes. Yes.
He had
Yes.
himself a day,
And
and
that's what when we get into MVPs, which I'm just gonna let you know right now, I don't have an offensive MVP. I'm not picking anybody.
yeah,
But
I don't either.
I think he would definitely get my vote, especially because what is he a freshman?
He was the
I
highest
mean,
graded freshman last week.
that's it's absolutely humongous. And so, for him to step up, which I'm gonna let you continue to proceed about him because I don't know as much stats wise, but it is definitely big for him to step up in that game. But as far as offensive goes, I'm not giving it to absolutely anybody.
Right, and that's the second week that's happened this season, so that's terrible. But Eli, and I've even heard Brent talk about him, and he's a smaller guy, and I think Brent's exact quote was like, guys think they can get jump balls on him and things, and he's like, this is not the guy to try because and it happened once in the end zone. I don't know if you remember, but Texas took a shot at the end zone and Eli Bowen was defending against a much bigger receiver than him and he broke up the pass. So it's just like some guys just have it, like you and me talked about,
Yep.
have that dog, and he's one of them. I don't think he missed a single tackle all day. And
Hmm.
he is a smaller guy, but like BB said, he's not the guy to try.
Yeah,
Clearly, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be a dude.
for sure. And one last thing about the before we move on to how we think this week's going to go. One thing that really, and we may have different point of views on this, but the post game presser where Billy Bowman basically said we gave him that shut up. I that for me, I didn't agree with that. I was just like, at that point in time, obviously you can't throw your offense under the bus, but you didn't just give him the game. Okay, like let's not say that there was any way we were coming out of there with the win. So we've just got to be completely realistic to that point. But he kind of just made it look like, which I'm not saying I'm not. It's not like I'm giving Texas all the flowers they deserve. I mean, I think they're a really good football team. Are they the best in the country? I don't necessarily know for a fact yet. I mean, honestly, the way the SEC is playing out right now, there is a absolute tie up. Um, and even Oregon's in that conversation. Shout out Dylan Gabriel. My God, I miss you so much. But for him just to say we gave that to them, no, you didn't. I mean, let's be realistic. There was only so much you could do, but it was inevitable. So I think that was one thing that kind of towards the end, kind of the only good thing we got out of that game is that they planted that flag on Baker's jersey, and he even talked about it in his post game on Sunday. He's like, I've been living rent free in their head for 7 years. So I mean, that did make me feel really good.
Yeah, was that not a super weird move by them?
For sure. Like if anything, use Danny's jersey or
Yeah,
something. Somebody relevant now.
that would have made way more sense, and especially after last year, the Oklahoma only fears God, but Texas fears
Uh-huh.
Oklahoma. But and also, when Baker planted his flag, he was kind of the first one, at least in
Yeah.
a
I mean,
long
that
time.
wasn't normal to
Right,
do.
and people do it, and it was a huge game. We
Hmm.
got beaten Norman the year before, and the only reason he did it, like, he didn't just do it to do it. He did it because they came out when our band was on the field and they celebrated on the logo. That's why he did it to Ohio State. It wasn't just because they won the game. And
Yeah.
so dudes literally just do it to do it. And you know, at the horseshoe, it's a turf field. So obviously it's not going to go in the ground. So he sticks it and then just drops it, but it's like more of a symbol thing. This is actual grass and they couldn't stick it like they tried to stick it in the ground and it still like fell over and it's a ripped Baker Mayfield jersey, which is
I don't
weird.
know. Where did they get did they have that like stocked up or
I
something?
saw a thing and he's like, yeah, some kid gave it to me a few years back. He's like, honestly, I don't even, he's like, no hate to Baker. Like, I'm honestly a fan. It was just the only OU jersey we had. And I'm just like, this is so weird, man. Like, if anything, just plant the flag. Don't bring the
For
jersey
sure.
into
For
it. But
sure. Like he had absolutely nothing to if Baker had anything to do with this football team,
oh,
guaranteed we win that game.
yeah.
Guaranteed.
And if you're gonna plant the flag in grass, make sure it stands up. at least for a little bit. You can't try to plant it in grass and it fall down. So
And then
and
seeing Texas people try to defend them in the comments and stuff, it's like you can't defend that. Like you really can't. I mean, there's
yeah,
absolutely no relevance between the two. I mean,
yeah.
quite frankly. So I don't. That definitely that made me chuckle for sure.
And like I said, it's becoming too much of a watered down thing. Like Penn State tried to plant the flag whenever they beat USC. It's
Mhm.
it's not something you do just because you win a big game. There's more to it. Like I said, Ohio State came and celebrated on the logo when they beat us in Norman. That's why Baker did it. He didn't do it because he won lots of big games at OU. He didn't plant the flag every single time. So I don't know. It was a crazy celebration to pull out, but I guess we can't really say anything because they
No,
whooped our tail for 60
yeah,
minutes.
100%. Yeah, I mean, credit all to you, but I just don't necessarily think if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't have done that.
I
But
wouldn't have either.
I'm not. So, well,
Yeah.
Colin, how you think next week's gonna go, brother?
Well, here's the problem we run into with next week is, I don't think South Carolina's a great team by any means. Obviously, they almost beat Alabama last week, and they're not they're a good team. But they have a pretty good pass rush. I think they have like a top 10 pass rush, and we have a not good offensive line. I'll put it that way. So that'll be very interesting to see how that whole thing plays out. Honestly, I don't know a ton about them. Um, I know they do get a little over aggressive, trying to get sacks and make plays behind the line and things like that. Um, and honestly, we're probably not going to be able to block them up. We're going to have to use their aggressiveness against them, scheme up some things. Honestly, I think the simpler we keep it this week, the better. Clearly, last week we were doing a lot of confusing things like the motions and the options and you know, I don't know. It's like we were combining plays. Like Michael Hawkins would run one way, like he's running an option, and then hand it off the other way. Just really confusing schemes, I'm sure, for the blocking and running. So I think the simpler we keep it, the better. But I just don't know how our line's going to hold up against theirs. I'm a little worried. And
I
honestly, I think if we don't win this game, that I don't know where we steal a game. Maine's going to be the only one
Maine,
I see us winning.
Maine, yeah, I'm completely the same way. I'm not even gonna make any score predictions because quite frankly, I don't have a clue. If anything, I'd say maybe 10-7 us, and it may be the ugliest football game I've ever seen. Um, but yeah, I think it's one of those things. Defense, obviously, I think they'll keep us in the game for the most part. Um, but as far as the offense goes, I mean, hope and pray we get some receivers back. Probably won't because it seems like our wide receiver room is full of a bunch of wussies. But and I say that I don't know how serious their injuries are. Obviously, you'd like to think it's pretty serious for them to sit out as long as they have been. But if we can get some guys back, maybe we can make some stuff happen. But I'll just keep it short and simple. I have not a clue. This is one of the first times I really haven't had an expectation going into the game. I don't know how well the fans are going to play into it. I mean, you would think, as bad as we've been, we're 4-2. Surely, the majority of the fans will show up. You would think, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a dogfight, and quite frankly, aside from Maine, I think we're going to have a dogfight every game the rest of the season if we don't get the shit kicked out of us.
I agree. I really don't know what to think either coming into this game. And it's not even necessarily the opponent anymore. It's
No,
you don't know what you're gonna see out of your own team.
I
You
mean I think
probably
we have an idea what we're going to see offensively. We just don't want to accept it. Like we want to think that we're going to get out of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's always optimistic. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be I can tell you this, I'm probably not gonna be having fun about 5 minutes into the game. So
Yeah.
that's about how all these games go. And I'd like to think the crowd still shows up, but I would not be surprised to see a bad crowd on Saturday. Um,
Also, wouldn't be surprised, if we do show up if we end up booing the shit out of our offense. I mean,
oh, yeah, I
I,
mean,
I'm not a big fan of that, but they're known to do it.
yeah,
And if we see improvement, I would not be surprised.
right. It wouldn't be the first time. Um, yeah, I don't really have a score prediction either for you because I just don't know if our offense can score. You know, I really did not expect us to just come out of that game last Saturday scoring 3 points. Call it, just optimism or just being ignorant. But I really thought that we stood a chance. And especially once the game started, I turned to Jenny and I was like, if we keep winning the turnover battle and the field position battle, like anything can happen. Because, I mean, we were pinning them within their 20-yard line every time. And so we're flipping the field on them and we were getting the ball back at like the 35-40. So, I mean, that's a pretty good recipe to win. And, it just, we never capitalized on it. Defense quit doing their job, tried to do everyone else's job, and it just snowballed on us. And credit to Texas for, not freaking out because they could have. Quinn had a horrible start to the game. He really didn't have a great game, but 13 yards in the first quarter. They didn't freak out. They just kept to it. Brent Venables clearly got out coached by Steve Sarkisian, and it was really just total dominance on one side of the ball for the rest of the game after that second quarter.
For sure, for sure. But I mean, we're gonna have to try to have a short memory. As bad as it is, there's still hope. I'm getting sick and tired of saying that shit. But I don't, I don't know, man. But before we run out of time, I just want to touch base on this real quick. I don't know if you've seen the pressers on Twitter and stuff, but did you watch the Cowboys game on Sunday?
No, I did not,
Well,
but I saw the score.
They got prayers up to what's his name?
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson. Did you see that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you completely shatter yourself like that. That was nasty. So prayers up to him for sure. But did you see Jerry Jones' altercation today with the radio host?
I saw like the headline. I didn't watch it though.
It is the most absurd. He is one of the most, basically he told him, it's not his job to ask him questions like that when it's a good question because you're playing like absolute dog shit. And he threatened to fire him and get somebody else to do it. That dude is the most, look at me when it's going well. I have nothing to do with it when it's going bad. And like I've been preaching the past weeks, I know we typically focus on Oklahoma football and college football, but he is the most egotistical man. You got me so pissed. I picked up a pen to talk, but he's got to die, bro. He's got to die because he is going to run this fan base and this franchise into the ground, Colin. It's beyond me. It pisses me off. Trell and Jerry Jones, dude. I've just been fed up with their shit. So fed up. And the Yankees are winning too, so that really pisses me off.
Just to add insult to injury. Yeah, we really try and keep it positive on 4th and 1, but our teams don't make it easy for us.
No, it's ridiculous. I'd say it every time. We try to be optimistic, and I have a lot of people call me out because I'm very hypocritical when it comes to certain things, but I'm sick of this shit, man. We deserve better, okay? We wait all year for this, which thank the Lord we got NBA coming up so we can start barbecue chicken. We'll have some positive stuff to talk about because I'll be damned if the Thunder let us down. But this is bad, man. We deserve better. I'm sorry that we have to go through this. I'm apologizing to you. I'm apologizing to myself. I think it is, as far as the Cowboys go, it is a lack of judgment on my family's part for allowing me to be part of this. But I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore, dude. This sucks. I'm not having fun.
It really, truly does suck. Like you said, basketball is right around the corner. There's hope. OU football, they've hurt us enough at this point. I'm not surprised by anything. But we're going to keep rooting. We're going to keep hoping. Anything else you want to say before you take us home, Will?
Man, I love every one of y'all. We're going to get through it. May not be this year, but we're going to get through it. And we'll see y'all next week. Hopefully with a W. And we'll talk about how bad our offense was, but we got the win. So, Colin, you got anything or is that it, brother?
That's it.
All right, guys. Peace and love.
American nights.